Hello everyone and welcome to the Season 3 Week 10 BOP tier list video. This week's data was captured Thursday morning CST using the iRacing Reports Discord, link below. Alright, starting off, let's take a look at the Touring Car Challenge. This week it's at Road Atlanta. And just a quick note, the 2-hour solo endurance multi-class TCR and GT4 Michelin Pilot Challenge Series is also at this track this weekend. Alright, moving to the fixed series first. The good news is that all 4 cars are showing median race lap times in a 1-second window of each other, i.e. the slowest paced car is less than a second off the fastest paced car. So all cars should perform well, but looking inside that resolution, I'll go with the RS3 in Civic and B tier, and a Veloster and Elantra in A tier. And thus here is your Touring Car Challenge fixed tier list for this week at Road Atlanta. For the open series, unlike the fixed series, the setup adjustments are opening up the gaps a bit. Thus we find in the 131s the RS3 in D tier, with its median race pace being over 1 second off the top 2 cars. In a similar fashion, but a notch better, is the Civic going C tier. Then jumping into the low 130s, the Elantra goes A tier, with the Veloster near a 130 flat going S tier. And here's your Touring Car Challenge open setup tier list for this week. And moving on, as with the touring cars, the GT4 series is also at Road Atlanta. And for the fixed series, similar to what we saw for TCRs, the GT4s with the fixed setups are all in that 1 second window. But as we do, let's break it down within that window. C tier, the Porsche, B tier, the BMW and McLaren, A tier, the Mercedes and Aston Martin. Thus here is your GT4 Challenge fixed tier list at Road Atlanta. And again, mirroring what we saw with the TCRs, the GT4s also develop more significant gaps in pace with the open setups. Thus going in D tier is the Porsche and BMW with median times in the high 128s. C tier the McLaren in the low mid 128s. A tier for the Aston Martin in the 127s, with the Mercedes going a solid S plus tier with a pace in the low mid 127s, stretching well into the 126s with those in the top 25 percentile. Thus here's your GT4 Challenge open setup tier list for Road Atlanta. And just a quick note, if you're enjoying this BOP video, drop the hammer on that like and sub button if you haven't already. If you would like to support a little bit more, if you're able, there's also that super thanks and join buttons down below. Alright folks, the GT3 Challenge fix heads to the Grand Prix configuration of Nürburgring. The top 3 cars continue to perform above the rest of the field. Thus in D tier is the McLaren, C tier the Ferrari, Porsche and Lamborghini, all with median average race lap times in the 159s. B tier the Audi with a time in the mid 158s. A tier the BMW with a similar time of the Audi, with that top 25 percentile pushing into the low 157s. Finally, S tier for the Mac Daddy Merc with a median time near 158 flat and that 25 percentile hitting into the 156s. Thus here's your GT3 Challenge fixed tier list for this week at Nürburgring. Now let's see how the BOPs pan out in the GT3s in a 40-minute open setup VRS Sprint race. A quick look at the data here, we see the open setups do indeed close the gaps a bit, bringing the majority to within that 1 second window. However, outside looking in, going D tier are the Ferrari and McLaren, well into the upper 2-minute mark. The next 3 all going B tier in the mid 159s are the Audi, Lambo and Porsche. A tier to the BMW with its median time just barely breaking into the high 158s. Thus leaving the Mac Daddy Merc still in S tier with a median pace time in the mid 158 and a top 25 percentile reaching into the low mid 157s. And so here's your VRS GT3 Sprint race tier list for this week at Nürburgring. And a disclaimer before we go on, again, I do want to mention that these BOP findings are subjective from driver to driver based on their skill and or how familiar you are with the cars. So don't be discouraged if you don't own an A tier or an S tier car, and also don't expect to dominate if you do, especially racing at lower splits. And moving on, Road Atlanta week continues in iRacing with the IMSA Hagerty series. At the time of recording, data for the Audi, surprisingly, and McLaren not so surprisingly, are inconclusive, thus being thrown into the D tier for the moment. In C tier go the Ferrari, Porsche, and hesitantly the Lamborghini, which also barely has enough data to get a true read. A tier the BMW, and lastly, the Mac Daddy Merc in a solid S tier again, the median pace in the low mid 120s, and the top 25 percentile reaching well into the 119s. And so here's your IMSA Hagerty Series GT3 tier list for this week at Road Atlanta. And last but not least, folks, let's quickly hit the European Sprint Series, which goes to Watkins Glen. And as we see here, we're going to go with the D tier for the Ford with very little data, C tier the Ferrari and BMW, B tier the Corvette, and S tier to that RSR. And thus here's your European Sprint GTE tier list for this week at Watkins Glen Classic Boot. There you have it, folks. Please do go check out one of my other most recent videos up in the right hand corner, and I do stream some of my longer official races in league racing here on YouTube and other various games outside of racing over on my Twitch stream. Links below for that as well as my other socials. Until next time, safe driving.